Good. Okay, now we're good. Okay, so there's that. Now if I turn on and off this layer and see the bottom one, I can see that the dress popped out. I still have a little bit of floor to fix there. The dress popped out, but the wall didn't. Oh, here we go. Okay, now let's look. Okay, pretty much the same. Does that make sense what I just did? And up here, you're gonna have a little bit of change with the wall back next to her hair there. So we'll go in here and we'll paint this black. We can also paint over where some of that flyaway hair is and get rid of it too. Depends on how we do it. See, now we don't have a problem with the wall anymore, or that anymore. Now some things don't make it enough. If there isn't a straight line there, you won't see a difference anyway. Like where we tucked her in there, didn't make any difference. All right, got it the way I want it. So I'm going to come up here, layer, and say flatten the layer. Okay, the next thing and this is one of the most important things, is dodge and burn. Do you both know what dodge and burn is? Okay, dodge and burn is there's one brush over here called dodge and burn. Sponge tool actually takes out color. So if you've got something that's got too much color, you can use a sponge and make it, if you do it enough, it turns it into black and white. But dodge and burn is all we're going to look at here. I have an action that I run in Photoshop to do dodge and burn, and I'll give it to anybody who wants it. It's really simple though what it does. So I'm going to click on action and say go, and it's going to create two layers that I can work with. And here's what these layers are doing, actually. They're named dodge and burn, but there's nothing different about them. They're exactly the same. They're 50% gray and they're set up as overlay. That is the equivalent of putting a piece of plastic over the image. So you can draw on that piece of plastic and it's not drawing on the picture itself. And the coolest part is if you draw on the plastic and you go, oh man, I did too much dodge or I did too much burn, I can change how the opacity of that plastic. I can make it so it's not there at all, or I can say, well, I can bring it back 50% and go, okay, that's better. I can't do that if I just draw it directly on the image. So that's why there's layers for that. So dodge, and I use the dodge tool. And what dodge and burn is, dodge makes things lighter and burn makes things darker. Okay, so you can lighten up things that are already lit up, or you want to light up a little more, and burn will darken something, make a shadow darker or whatever. And you will see a drastic difference in how she looks with dodge and burn. We'll look at the differences here. Dodge is usually the most important, but it depends entirely on what you're using it. You know, each picture is going to be a little different. So we'll zoom in on her a little bit here. And I'm going to use some dodge. Okay. Just learning how to use a different pad. I'm actually going to dodge part of her eyeball. Dodge and burn are fairly subtle. Okay. Do it to this one over here too.
So
Now,
you mentioned you're using a pad, and yesterday I heard you guys talking about using a brush. Are you using like an iPad, or are you using something that connects like a keyboard with?
excellent question. This is what I'm using. These things are about $100. They can be even cheaper. I use from a company called XP Pen. I don't know. Let me see the name of it. There we go. And it's backwards, of course. XP pen is a good one because, well, super durable and they're inexpensive. What I usually use isn't this pad. I use one that actually has a screen on it, a 24-inch screen, and I draw right on it. So when I'm editing her eye, I'm drawing on her eye. But those are, those are about $800. But I do this 3 or 4 hours a day. So it's not like, if you don't want to have a cheap bed because you're in it 8 hours a day, right? Same thing with this. If you don't do it much, you can get a little pad and get away with it fine. I like the pads that have a little wheel on them because, as you can see, I can zoom in and out just by turning the wheel. Or I can change my, there we go. There's my, my brush. I can spin my hand around the inside of the wheel, change the size of the brush. So it makes it a lot quicker and a lot easier. Now, the important part about the pad is, and the difference between it and a mouse is like a paint roller. You only have a button, so you're either going to be full on or full off. You can't really change with, like when I'm painting with this, the harder I push, I have actually two choices. The harder I push, I can make it so it does that harder. Like the line is going to be really light if I barely touch it and darker if I push down, or I can make it so it's a certain size until I push down and then it gets wider. So it depends on what it is that you want to do, what kind of drawing you're doing. But I don't think you can really do editing that well without using a pad. But there's a lot of great artists out there that they still use a mouse and they get away with it. Their stuff is amazing. So there you go. Okay, so did that answer your question on that? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Now, keep in mind, you're going to see a lot of stuff and go, oh man, I don't know what that is. Now you know that it exists. That's the important thing. If you know that it exists, oh, you can find it. It's all over. There's all kinds of training on every bit of this. But sometimes it's like, I didn't know, you can do that. Okay, so we're doing dodge and burn. Let's dodge part of her body, and you'll really see the differences here. I'm gonna zoom in here, and we'll dodge her right here. I kind of love dodge and burn. To me, it lets me play games with the viewer's eye because I can put light where I want it. And I mean, I can't put light somewhere that it wouldn't be possible for light to be there because of the way things are lit up. But I can change how much is there that wasn't there before. Look how I just changed the size or the shape of her breasts by just lighting them up in the right places. I mean, it's a huge difference. It in some cases you look at that going, oh, that's just not right. Well, you're seeing it before. If you didn't see the before, then it's like, no, that's the way it is. It's kind of like I'm showing you how to put the rabbit in the hat. It's not as much fun watching the rabbit come out of the hat now. So down here we've got belly button area. We can highlight that by putting a little light on it. Lighten that up. This is where you can lighten up abs and things. And the way her belly is right here, there isn't really a lot of abs to work with. Here's where I can go to burn, change to the burn tool, and I can then give her a little bit of abs by darkening it right here. Okay, see where I gave her some abs by doing that? The hardest part is understanding what muscle structure and what things are supposed to look like. Now there's just for kicks here, I'm gonna flatten this so it's all one layer now, and it's not done, but it's the way it is. But you see, let's look at her skin and stuff here. There is one filter I use, and you don't have to have it, but I like the skin to be nice. And I don't like working on the whole thing for hours, making the skin nice. So I have one filter and one filter only. That's the only thing that I ever use. It's called Portraiture. Oh, I guess I don't have the number registered in this one. And it means it isn't. Why isn't it in there? Well, let me do it anyway. It might put the word portraiture all across it, but you can see the difference here. Let me zoom in on the skin. Okay, there's your difference. Okay, that's the skin without it. And that's the skin without it, and that's the skin with it. Let's look at her face up here. Big difference. It might be a little more than we want. But when I run this, when I say make a new layer, so I can then say that was pretty good, but I only want it 50%, or I want to mask out a part of it. But that pretty much, this one's a little blurry in the first place. Otherwise, if there was a lot of skin texture here, you would see the skin texture stays. So that's the important part. It doesn't just blur it, keeps the texture. I'm going to say okay to this, and it's going to not registered, so it's not going to do it. Damn it. Okay, that's fine. But that's the only filter I use. I don't use anything else for a couple reasons. If I'm going to teach people how to do this, I can't say, oh yeah, and go out and buy all these filters. No. The skin filter is important, but everything else is like, nah. Your style is going to come from what you learned how to do, not, well, I use these filters, and that's why my pictures look like this. So depends on what you're after, of course. So maybe do just a little bit more dodge and burn. So I'm going to run this one again, and we'll work on our legs a little. Dodge and burn is really good with legs in particular, giving them shape. And especially if they're wearing nylons, makes a huge difference. If she had dark hair, and we'll do one with dark hair a little bit, you can bring the highlights out in the hair. They pay a lot of money for those highlights, so when they show up, they're really excited about it. And of course, it looks good. That's why they paid money to have them. All right. Now, looking at the leg area here, since that's what we just did, look at the difference that Dodge made to the legs. It's subtle, but makes a huge difference. Same with the arms and things up here. And burn is interesting in that you could do it. You can use that around a face, for instance, to make the face stand out away from the hair. Let me change this to burn and make the brush a little smaller. Put some shadow in here. Darken it back here. Even darken around the eyes if you want. Make the darker areas in the hair a little darker. Really gives it some contrast, but especially right here. Okay, if I turn that on and off, see the difference? We just gave everything more of a shape than we had before. Does it look good, guys? Doing all right? Okay. And then with this, I would then turn around. It's not exactly, you know, I would spend more time on it, but I don't want to bore you guys. I hit save from Photoshop, and then down here, I'm going to see that there's an original one and my edited one. So, and then I would usually put 1 star on this one and then 5 on that one. Then I know that that's the original. The reason I star it is because at some point, if I need to clear things out, I can say, okay, go in here and delete everything that has no stars. And that'll keep the original one, it'll keep all the edited ones, but all the other images would go away. That's going to happen to me someday soon because I'm at 20 terabytes out of 22 on my RAID array. It's like, I don't need to keep all of the pictures. Let's see what else I can work on here. Let's look at this one just to see what we can do from what we have in the tools in Lightroom. I can bring her hair out with the shadows. Okay, you see the hair detail coming out. Doesn't change a lot of the rest of the picture, just the hair. Highlights, I can turn it down if I want to brighten the whole thing, but I kind of like the fact that the light's just brighter on certain areas. I think we're good. We could edit from that one. See what else we got here. Same with this one. If I do shadows on this one, watch your legs. They just come completely out so we can see them. I can change the exposure, and then I can use highlights to bring it back down to where we can see the shadows, but we can still see your legs. So a lot of these controls I do. Oh, on this, let's go back to this one that I finished here. When I'm finished with one like that, I'll use a dehaze a little bit. Okay, it darkens it down a little bit, gives it a little more mood. I can then play around with the whites and bring those back up a little bit, or I can make darker areas darker. I can even bring out more shadows if I want, but I do some last minute tweaking to it before I consider it finished. So now there's the difference between before and after. She's got more shape to her body and her belly. And even the eyeball up there. Watch the eye when I go back and forth. So by just putting some light on the outside round part of her eyelid, it changes that. So this is a part where pay no attention to the fact that where the lighting is and how it should look. You can play with people's minds and go, well, even though the light would not have hit that from where it's at, you can put it in. Nobody will question it because they kind of expect it. Let's look at this one. Okay, I'll show you how to make hair bigger. Hair bigger is really a big thing. When people go to a picture, the first thing they look at is eyes, and then they look at hair. You figured the same? Yeah. Eyes and hair. And with her, hair is big. She wore a wig through different wigs through the whole shoot, and this is finally her normal hair. By doing shadows, we can bring more of the texture out of the hair, which is good. We can bring the highlights down, which is going to make the background come out more. Oh, yeah, that's highlights. Background will show up a little bit more color back there. Doesn't change her much at all. So we've got full control in that. If I want to blow it out, I could go that way. Exposure is usually good, but if it's really dim, you can bring it up. If it's a raw picture, you can bring it out of nothing and be good. Okay, so let's edit this one. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is like I did on the other one. I'm going to make a copy of it because I'm going to mess around with the top one and anything that messes up beyond that, I can bring it back to normal. So from here, I see some things that are a little distracting and a little weird. So we're going to use liquefy again. Liquefy comes up with a whole new thing. Now in liquefy, you can do so many things with liquefy. Some things are creepy in liquefy. Let me show you. If I want, let's see here, mouth. If I want her to smile or pout, is that creepy or what? Like, okay, I can change the size of her lips. I can do all kinds of stuff. But the only thing I ever use is the one top tool, the very top one there. It's it lets you change the size of something by dragging it out. It's, I think they call it a warp tool. So from here, here's the deal. It pulls anything that's in the middle. I'm going to do it wrong just to show you the difference. If I click in the middle here and move it, you see how it moves her hair, but it's all moving it from the middle and doing that. There might be times you need something like that, but you don't normally want to do that. So I'm going to say restore it, and I'm going to pull her hair from out here because I want the hair bigger. I don't care about the surrounding area. Just want her hair to be bigger. I'll worry about the surrounding area. Now she's got good hair. Okay, makes sense? And no, we don't usually make boobs bigger, but why not? Just a little. Okay, and we're going to bring her rib cage in just a hair. Okay, because it was competing with her boobs there. We could conceivably even make her bottom a little bit bigger if we wanted, or you know, make her thighs a little different. Most of the time I found the changes that I make, other than hair, they figure that out. But the other changes I make, they don't see. They look at themselves and go, that's me. It looks good. It's all right, cool. And I don't do it to a point where, oh, I wish I looked like that. That's a negative reinforcement. Don't want that at all. I want them to really like how they are themselves. So here's the difference. All right. You'll never trust hair again in an ad, will you? If you ever did before. Okay, I'm going to use the brush tool and a mask because I'm going to drill down to the outside here. This pool would probably drain out if we left it like that. So we'll paint that back in. There's an awful lot of other stuff, like all the things around here, doesn't matter. You can't tell that it's out of shape. So you can leave it like it is. Doesn't matter at all. If there's not a straight line or a structure and it's blurry, definitely doesn't matter. Same with what we did here. Down here doesn't matter. So you can look at it and go, okay, her hair looks good. Everything looks good. Perfect. So we can flatten that. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but somebody's over here taking a picture, probably. Let's see if we can get rid of that. I'm going to take the lasso and I'm going to outline that. Oh, didn't grab it right. Did it again. I'm not used to using this pad. Grab that. There we go. Okay, now there's a thing called fill. And you set it to content aware, which means look at what I just selected and you decide if what should be there. And I'm going to say okay. And let's see what it does. Ta-da. It's not perfect. The chair is a little squirrely, but it finished putting the chair in and it took out the guy's arm. Maybe not perfect, but close. I can now use the clone stamp, which wherever I put the pointer, like here, if I want this to be finished down where it belongs, I can go here. I can hold the Option key down, say, this is my target. And then you can come down here, say, okay, paint that in down here. I'm going to do target again. The target up higher. Line it up, and now we brought it down to here. We can just kind of blur this all out down here and nobody will be looking at it anyway. And I can do the same thing over here. So anyway, you see you have tools and the ability to fix things like that. Would have been easier in the shoot to say, hey, get out of my way. Like this chair, if I wanted to finish it, I could come over and say, well, I'll stick that point right there. And that's this point right here. So I can draw that other chair kind of into this. So it looks like it belongs there. Anyway, you get the idea. I won't finish bothering you with that. I can also change the size of the thing, which is probably what I would do, is just change the size of the picture. Just so all that stuff wasn't in it. Because we don't really need that anyway. So there you go. Kind of fixed that. That chair's a little warped, but anybody who says the chair's warped isn't paying attention to what I want them to look at anyway, right? Okay, so there she is so far. Let's do the dodge and burn again. So I'm going to do this dodge and burn, which creates the 2 layers. And it's automatically set with the dodge tool. So we're going to highlight her hair. It's so subtle. Sometimes it's hard to see that I'm even doing it unless I do the on and off thing. So you can see that, you know, I changed her hair. Now we're not going to change and fix the skin with the filter, mainly because the filter isn't working. Sorry, I didn't check that part, but that's okay. It's not important to teaching you stuff here. But I am going to do something now on, well, let's do a little burn first, but we'll do frequency separation in just a second. Frequency separation is kind of complicated, but until you learn how to use it, like anything else. I think brain surgery is not all that complicated if you know how to do it. And I know some people it would be easier to do on than others. Probably me. Okay, so we've done that. I'm going to flatten the layer here because we're going to do frequency separation to clean her up, mostly in the face. Just have to remember which knob to turn here. Okay, so with frequency separation, it's another thing where it runs an action, and I'm going to run it, and it comes up and asks what kind of blur I want. 14 pixels is fine. I say good, it's okay. Now it comes up with 2 layers, and we can paint in those layers. But I tried frequency separation 3 different times and went, this is too complicated. I mean, I understood what it did, but I couldn't figure out how I was going to explain it to anybody. And it was going to take a lot of time if I did it the way they told me to, or that everybody else is doing it. So I designed my own action to do it. there's two layers here. One is, it tells you specifically the tool you use is clone stamp, and the other one you use the mixer brush. So there you go. The first one deals with details, and the other one is colors. The reason for frequency separation is we want to be able to get rid of spots and things, but we don't want the color to change. Like if I pick a spot on our skin that's nice, and then use it to clone onto another piece of skin to cover up a blemish, we don't want the color or the brightness to move. We just want the texture to move. And that's what the details does. It's only dealing with texture. It has nothing to do with color. So it won't change it most of the time. The second one is colors. There we can blend the colors. If her leg is splotchy or she has a tan line across there or something, you can actually, even though there's detail there, you can take that tan line and you can run the brush, you'll see in a second, run the brush back and forth, make the tan line go away, but the detail stays. It's pretty powerful. So we don't have a lot of, her face is a little bit blurry here, but we're going to still be able to get rid of some of the blemishes and some lines right here. We'll make her look a little younger by taking some lines out. She's got some blemishes here. I've shot her so much, I think I know more about little scars and blemishes on her than she knows about herself, because I can see places she can't see. Anyway, so it automatically goes into the details, automatically picks the clone stamp, and all I have to do is, in the case of a Mac, push the Option key. I don't know what it's, I think it's the Alt key on a PC. I can say I want to get rid of that spot and that spot. So I want to pick that skin and put it over that. See the spot go away? Pick that skin, put it over that. So I'm picking skin close by and cloning it into the spots. I want these two marks on her cheek. Take this spot of her skin, put it there. The spots on her cheek are gone. Down here, that one's gone. That one's gone. You take a whole area here. And if something doesn't turn out like you like, you can always go pick some other skin to put there instead. And it blends it in pretty well. Let's get rid of this little spot right here. Little lines. There. Now I can't use this to turn it on and off, because it's going to just put you over to the color one, which is a little blurry. Okay, so that's the part. Like if we want to get rid of this dark line right here, we can do the same thing, which I normally would. I pick that part of her nose and I'm going to put it right here. Okay, now if we wanted her forehead and cheek, they're not in bad shape, but we're going to go to colors now, and I'm going to go to something called a mixer brush. Under the brushes, there's a bunch of different brushes. Mostly you use the top one, which is the tool brush. The other one's the mixer brush. The mixer brush, you can go back and forth like this, and it blends anything in that circle together. Now that one actually took the shade out because I did it too big. If I do it like this, it's gonna, oh wait. When you use this, you have to make sure you clean the brush. You don't brush it with a color. That's the deal. Okay, it's a clean brush now, so it's not going to change the, for some reason it switched when I did that. Clean brush, stay, clean brush, stay. There we go. See, now it stayed kind of blush in there. But you can blend any way you want. You can actually kind of change somebody's face a little bit by doing that. Oh, I'm doing it in the wrong. I needed to be in the color area. All right, let's try this again. It was blurring it. That's why I thought it was a little weird. Oh, did it again. The thing is switching over to white, and I needed to stay as a clean brush. This happened on my other machine, and I forgot. There we go. I forgot what I had to do to fix it. Now it switched to white again. I don't know why it does that. But this is what you do if she has if she's got some tan lines somewhere and you need to get rid of them. That would be the way you do it. Is you put the color mixer brush on, and you make sure it's a clean brush, and you just swipe back and forth. All the little spots and things would stay, but the coloration would change to match. So then the little white stripe or whatever would go away. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, it's a pretty cool feature. Now, if you've never used dodge and burn before, or you've never used frequency separation, will you get it right the first time? No. Will you get it right the fifth time? Probably not. The 99th time, you'll be catching on. The 200th time, yeah, you'll have it down. So don't do it a couple times ago. I'm never going to get this. Yes, you will. You just need to practice with it and learn. It's not a paint by numbers. It's more of a skill that you have to build. I tell you which tools to use and tell you how to use them, and then you have every picture is different on what you would do. So now let's see if we can get away with this on her leg. It'll probably still switch away from the clean brush. Oh, see, just changing the size of the brush changed it to white. I don't want white. There we go. See, I can smooth her leg out. I can't show before or after. I can go back again. That's how her leg was. See, it's a little light right here, and there's a little darker spot and all that. So by going up here and doing this, clean brush, I can even all of that out. So her leg is completely even. So it's pretty handy. It's very, very cool. So that's frequency separation. Now, if I take this and I save it, and there's our original one, it's going to save the new one right next to it. Okay, so now we can see the difference between the original and the new one. The guy's gone, and she has bigger hair. And up near her chest, it's a little less less evident that the rib cage is out there. Now I would go to dehaze here, and I would darken it a little bit. Sometimes that actually gives it kind of a little orange hue. So I'll turn around and mix in a little blue to offset that. And then we can do anything. We can play around with clarity, make it smoother, not smoother, do more with shadows. There we can make her hair really stand out again, even more. Play with highlights, get more color in the background. So there you go. So now there's the difference between the two. I think that one's a little bit more inviting as far as wanting to see it. So what do you think so far? I did one that was really interesting. Only I do a lot of body part stuff. It's like, no, that's about the bottles, and she's about the background. And yes, of course, she's out of focus. Of course, I did some that weren't. There you go. Okay, this one I've already played with a little. Let me put it back to normal, and you can see why I did what I did. I think I talked about this at the very beginning. Um, by by turning up the shadows, her hair goes from not being there to being there. And the highlights, I can decide, do I want the highlights to show up? By doing that, it changes her, it flattens her out. She's got more shape there than she does here. And that's fine. I don't care because I will give her shape with the dodge and burn anyway. So we'll take this one and work with it. Okay, let's take it into Photoshop. I'm going to use this tool right here, the crop tool, and you can set that and you can just grab an edge and you can straighten it out if you want. I'm going to straighten it out and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Take out some of that junk. You can even make it so you can't see the door anymore. There we go. That works. Now I'm gonna do the same thing I did with to get the photographer out of it. See this stuff over here on the side? I'm gonna select it. And I'm gonna come up here to edit and fill, content aware. Let's see what it does. Gone. Okay. Content aware is really nice. If I really wanted to, I could even sit here and get rid of these. Well, let's try it. Why not? Because they're a little distracting. Kind of messes up her foot a little bit. So we can select this, come all the way down. Content aware fill. Okay. It's going to look around and go, yep, I think we can handle that. Let's do the same thing with this one. This one might be a little weird because it might look at the heel and go, I don't know how much of that's supposed to be over here. See, messed up the heel just a little bit, but we can fix that. Do it again. Usually doing it again fixes it because it is paying attention to what you asked for the first time. Then it did the correction. And then if you try and correct something else in that, it goes, well, whatever I did last time was not exactly what they were looking for. So it's not going to keep repeating itself all the time, which is kind of cool. See if we can get away with taking the base out of here. There we go. We're getting there. We can use the clone stamp here and I can say, all right, take this and put it right here. So take this and put it right in here. I'm gonna make the brush bigger. Someday, probably when I'm like 95 or 100, I'll look at this closer when I'm taking the picture and just not have it in the picture in the first place. There we go. A little squirrely up here. Now you see that you can still see a little blurriness here. some weird stuff there because it didn't take it out completely. One of my favorite brushes in the whole world anymore is called a mixer brush. I take the mixer brush here. This is the one that you want to make sure it's a clean brush. They made a change recently, and a lot of times it decides it's not a clean brush anymore, like it just did. And you can just go back. It went to white again. Damn it. All right. Typically, it will take whatever color is around it and it'll blend it. And then all of those little things go away. But if you look at it, we know it no longer have those big tabs sticking up by her feet or any of that other stuff that was there. So pretty cool, huh? Her legs are a lot more interesting looking, not having all that stuff there. So there's other things we can do. I can make her longer or taller. It changes her just a little bit, but she usually won't even notice. Now I'm going to make a copy of this. So I've got 2 copies and two copies of the layer. I'm going to do liquefy. Almost always do liquefy. No model ever has said, can you make my butt smaller? There might have been a time at one point, but not anymore. Of course, give her more hair. There we go. And even the picture in the background didn't change that much. I did everything horizontally, so I don't even have to fix it. It didn't matter. But you can see the shape of her bottom is different. Looking good. And again, we'll do dodge and burn on it. The cool thing about learning all of this is you get a pattern going. You do liquefy to change shape. You do dodge and burn to enhance the curves and lights and darks, and then you use frequency separation to get rid of flaws and keep continuity in the skin if there's a flow like on a leg or something. And that's pretty much it. There isn't a lot of other things you want to do. So it may look complicated. Kind of like some newbie once got on one of the Photoshop things that says, Photoshop does all this stuff. Do I have to know all of it? And some photographer took the time to sit down and put little red circles around things that he actually used. And I looked at that picture and I looked at all the controls and all the things he circled and said, I use exactly the same stuff he uses. I don't use most of what's there. You have to remember Photoshop is the jack of all trades. It does almost all of them pretty good, but it does so much more than we ever need. So a good portion of these tools I never touch. Every once in a while, I'll look at them and go, is there something on there I could use? And if it's a no, then I don't worry about it. Sometimes they add a tool or a tool slips under the radar like this, the mixer brush. I think it's been there all along, but I sure could have used it the first 5 years. I discovered it and went, oh my God, I can't believe that thing's there. That's awesome. Okay, we're going to do the dodge and burn. So I'm going to zoom in on her a little bit here. And I always, for some reason, I always start with hair. And if there's a curl in the hair, you just go across the curl, and that's how the light would hit it anyway. So you can really bring out the highlight in the hair in any place that there's curls. There's a setting up here for exposure. I can increase the exposure and it'll do it quicker. One of the things she did yesterday that I doubt anybody noticed, but she, of course, wants to look good. And for two reasons. She wants to look good because she wants to be hired to do more shoots and stuff. But in the sitting ones where she's sitting down, if you look at, she's flipped over and she's sitting on it, you'll notice that the butt cheek that's away from us is a lot flatter, and the one that's facing us is almost perfectly round and just barely touching the thing. So she's putting all her weight on the one you can't see. So this one will look round. If she just sat flat, there'd be this flat where her butt is. So she, let me see if I can find one. She didn't do it there. No, I didn't even pick one where she was sitting, but I saw them, and she knows modeling well enough to know that, you like this one right here. If she in most cases, she moved it that so all of her weight was on this side, that so this would be round, and it looks really good. Most people don't notice it, but she usually pulls that off. Okay, so we did dodge. Let's see if we got everything on our face we would do. Yeah, pretty much. So now I'm going to do burn. So I'm going to darken some areas. Here I can darken around underneath her jawline a little bit, make that stand out. Give her a little more blush if I want. Darken the hair around her face. Okay, let me say flatten that. Now this area right in here, now we all bend and we all have wrinkles because that's how our skin works. It's supposed to work that way. Keeps us from breaking. But I've flattened it here. I'm going to actually do frequency separation. We're going to get rid of some of these wrinkles. So I'm going to run that, and I'm in the details. So I'm going to zoom in on her back here. And I'll pick this skin here and put it here. Little less wrinkling going on. Now I'm going to try colors again. I'm not sure it's going to work because I still haven't figured out, what the whole deal here is with. I want a clean brush. Do not change from a clean brush. Just give me a clean brush. There we go. See, I can kind of smooth that out a little bit. There's another option too. I'm going to just flatten the layer again, and I'm going to use mixer brush as it is Again, I'm going to say clean brush. It actually blurs it a little bit. But it blends all that in. Do the same thing down here. So you can do an awful lot with just the mixer brush by itself. Get rid of bra straps. There we go. All right. I'm going to, let's see, there's no layers, so I'm going to hit save. So what we got is there's the original. There's the finished one. And that's assuming I don't want to add a little bit of haze to it. Some with that, bring the shadows up a little more. You just play until it looks like you want it to look. We can make it bluer, or we can make it redder. We can change the tint completely. Now, if I've got it the way I want it, and I want to have a black and white version, I can, in Lightroom, I can click on that and say, give me a virtual copy. A virtual copy means it's not copying the image. It's just, well, it's taking the original image and saying you want to apply some new things to that in a different form. So this isn't a different image, but I can go in here and say I want that to be black and white. So now you see that there's two versions, but they're both really this picture, just with other things applied to it. So I can then change the contrast. I can really play with the dehaze because it's not going to change any coloring. I can do whatever I want with that. So now I have a black and white version of the color one. So what do you guys think? Good? Any questions?
There's a lot.
It's not really magical. It took me a long time to figure out that, and I want to point out, this isn't the way you should do it. You should do it the way you want to do it, not the way I do it. These are the tools that I use to do what I do. Well, in my training classes and stuff, I always talk about style. You need to find your style. And I have no problem showing people absolutely everything that I do, because I do that. But up here is where my style comes from. And it's everything you've ever loved, everything you've ever hated, you know, and that all comes out in your style. And style is when somebody's flipping through pictures, or they're looking somewhere and they see, and they point at one and go, oh, that's one of his, without seeing the name. That's a style. I'm sure you all have people that you follow that you're scrolling along and it's like, oh yeah, that's one of Philip Ritchie's. No question. Don't even have to look, because that's the way they do their work. And having a style like that is really cool if you're not doing it commercially, unless if you're doing weddings, it's good to have a style. But if you've got a style and you're doing it commercially, you can't change that style ever, because that's what they're buying, is that style. If you're like me and you're just doing it for the fun of it, and your style starts changing over the years, that's okay. Because nobody's paying me for that original style. It's fine. I know a guy who changed his style and really looked terrible. And everybody got all over his case and he had to change it back because he was losing business. So yeah, the style is important, but you can't go, okay, read this book and you'll have a style. No, you have to, edit 1,000 pictures and decide what you like about it or don't like about it, and go back a year later and go, oh man, I really don't like that, or I really love that. It's I can't look at the pictures I took in the first 2 years. They're terrible. They're lit wrong. They're crap. I kind of liked them at the time, but I knew that wasn't what I wanted. But I had to do that to get to where I wanted. It's the people who get in and go, I've been a photographer for a month. Why am I not famous? I see that way too often. But yeah. So what do you think?
Hey, Dave, do you see the comment on there?
Oh, no, I'm not seeing comments anywhere.
It just came through from Jonathan. He says he's got no microphone. He's wondering if you're open to sharing some edits from the shoot with everybody so we can see how each images sees each style.
Oh, sure. Well, the ones you mean, like, I should probably tell it to show me there's a chat, and there's even a little one there. All right, cool. I can hear, just no microphone. Yeah, well, and there's been some people who've already posted some things, some quickie edits, but well, let's do another one. You guys up for another one?
Yep.
You good with
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Go ahead.
Got any choices in here? Got some in the shower.
Oh, he's saying I think it'd be cool to see each other's, maybe share our socials. I
Oh,
can put mine and Josh's socials in there. I haven't edited anything yet. I shared some unedited stuff.
okay. Yeah. All right. Well, do you want to get into the text message there and give them your social media tags and whatever they're called, IDs or?
Yeah, I'll put some Instagrams in there because that's what I basically use these
Okay.
days.
That's cool. Facebook has decided that over the years, since I haven't paid them a single dime, and they're only making money on knowing everything about me and selling it to anybody who will pay any money for it. They're not suggesting me to anyone anymore because I'm violating their rules of not paying them cash. It's like, okay, cool. I'm about done with dealing with you people. So there are ways of going in and saying, I want to see every time this one person posts. And that's about the only way you can be seen for sure. I'm known as Dave Kelley Photographer for some things and Dave Kelley Artistics for others. I think on most of the social media, it's Dave Kelley Photography or just Dave Kelley. I've got 2 accounts on Facebook, and I post different things on each one just to mix it up. And I have one on Instagram. But I also post a lot on DeviantArt. DeviantArt's pretty cool. They don't have any rules. There's a lot of crap on there, and there's a lot of stuff that I would consider porn. So I ignore it. So you got a flight to take?
I do.
All right.
Got quite a return, but this has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Great.
Great toys.
It's a great meeting you, and have a safe trip home.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Can't wait to start using Liquify.
Oh yeah, Liquify's fun. Yeah, I could tell what you're interested in because you sat up in the chair when.
I'm not subtle. All right, take care.
All right, you too. Okay. Yeah, usually if there's an @ sign in front of it. Yeah. Mr. Moffat, Josh does a lot of really cool stuff too. Okay, so let's see here. We did this one. I really like that one. That's a Playboyish look. And I will probably go in with my other machine and do some editing on this with the filter when it works and all that kind of stuff too. So there you go. Let's do this one real quick. This one wouldn't take long. And this one has a bit of a tan line there. So we could probably use that that one feature to take the tan lines out. Okay, shadows, bring them up. See your hair appears all of a sudden, which is kind of nice. By the way, you don't have to do the whole picture. You can come up here and say, I want to use a brush. This gets a little more complicated. I want to use a brush, and I want to brush in shadows. And then you can come up here with the brush and paint over her hair, just her hair. And that should, yeah, see, we can change the shadows just in here if we want. So there's an option, which is kind of nice. So yeah, just about anything that you can do on the entire image, you can do with a brush on just a certain part of the image. So that works. Okay, so that's about the way I want it. Although even a little more shadow out would probably be good. We'll just do that. Okay. Edit in Photoshop. Okay, let's do we will do the frequency separation first, and see if we can't get rid of that line there just to show. All right. Now we're going to do colors, not detail, because we want to blend that out. And we use the mixer brush, and we try and make it do it clean instead of a color. So let's see if it gets mad at it. Yeah, as soon as I change the brush size, it changes it. Stop it. That's the only downside to them changing it. Doing updates. There's usually something that stops working like it's supposed to. But see, I'm now brushing out her tan line. Gone. Let's see. Let's go to details, and we will zoom in on her face. Again, not very in focus. I was using the 85 millimeter pretty much the whole shoot. A lot of my stuff, if you zoom in on it, it's not in focus, and that's okay. People aren't supposed to be zooming in on it. So there. Okay, going to use the clone stamp for the details, and I'm going to take some of the lines out of her face, make her a little younger. Oops. My brush is not as soft as I want it either. Again, it's because of hardness. There we go. That's probably it. Not using the machine I usually use. I don't know how well Photoshop does 3D printed files. I wouldn't use that for that. And probably does. I don't know. But
one of the suites it has does it allows you to go in and edit depth and everything for the print jobs.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I use something that costs $300 a year. Shaper 3D. It's basically a CAD program, but it outputs those and does a good job. Okay. There we go. Let's see if I can pick the right brush here. Yeah, much better. There we go. Yeah. When if you really get into Photoshop, like any other program, go into it carefully and think about what it is that you're doing, because it's like when you get married and she says, what side of the bed do you want to sleep on? So remember, you will be sleeping on that side of the bed for the rest of your life, or at least your married life. So when you make a decision on where to put things and how to line things up or whatever, keep in mind that if you do that, that's cool, but don't think you're going to move it over here and have it work for the next 2 or 3 years, because it's like, have you ever put all your kitchen utensils in one drawer for like a couple of weeks when you first move into a place, and then move them, and then for the next 2 years you go to that drawer first? so just keep that in mind when you're deciding on stuff. Let's see, take a little more. There we go. That works for her. And all right, let's flatten it here. And again, whenever I do liquefy, I always make a copy, because if I bring her hip out, that brick is, or that tile is going to change shape, and we want to be able to move it back. So I can turn around and once again make her hair a little bit bigger. If we move her hand, that works. Bump this out just a little. Bump this in just a little. There, got the curve the way we want. We can even take the towel over here, move that out a little bit, just to put some interest in it. And there we go. So I'm gonna say okay to that. And I think the only place we really are gonna miss is that, up where her hand is too. Okay, so I'm gonna put a mask there and paint it in black, right where the squirrely parts are. Now you'll see that none of the rest of it really matters. As long as the line moves, we're good. The texture can be anywhere. It doesn't matter. Nobody knows it's not supposed to look like that. Now there's a little bit of a shadow. I think it's from the shower door. We can always just use the mixer brush. Again, a clean one, hopefully. Now I changed the size, so it changed back. That's a bug. Oh, went to gray anyway. Okay. I'm really messing this up down here. It doesn't help that every time I change the size or pick up the brush, it changes back. If you don't use a clean brush, it's going to mix that color in. Yeah, that's all messed up. Sometimes it's best to start over or leave it alone. Yeah, you know what? It might be one of these. Yeah, it was that. That was set. I don't know what that is. I think it's revert back or something. And that was causing the problem. Okay. When you first use the mixer brush, make sure you use it in small increments and in small areas. And if you make it really big and do that, it's going to blur everything in that area. So to keep it all from looking perfectly flat, just learn to kind of brush it in. We'll do some more on her face here too. There we go. All right. Now, if we take that and save it, you see that change. There we go. All right. Look at the difference between the before and after. Mostly her hair and her hip. Now from here, do dehaze. Cool it off a little bit. And there's some other, I mean, these tools are something you can play with all you want. There's all kinds of cool stuff up here. I'm going to hit that one, which is like the brush, but I would say I want a radial gradient. Okay, so I want a radial gradient. I want it inverted because I want it to be the outside, not the inside. And I can select her. And I'm going to turn off the red part. And now I can change the exposure around her. So I can darken the rest of the room a little bit and make her stand out more. So, I mean, there's tools to help, spot, if there was a smudge on the wall, we could just use this tool to do it. Just about everything that you can do in Photoshop, you can do in Lightroom and vice versa. They're using exactly the same tools. It's not like they wrote something, oh, there's something new in Lightroom that you can't do anywhere else. No, there isn't much of anything like that. If I wanted to sit down and learn all the things in Photoshop that I do in Lightroom, I could do it all in Photoshop instead of going back and forth. But I'm pretty locked into Lightroom as far as maintaining the job, keeping things going. Knowing which shoot am I in, and when I change shoots, the biggest difference between having like 200,000 pictures on your drive and going in and looking at all 200,000 of them is, first of all, if the catalog gets corrupted, you've lost it all. Not all the images, but all the changes you made to them. And second of all, you go, I'm out of room. So you move 100,000 of those pictures out of the way, and they still show up here, but say, nope, they're missing. It's like, no, no, no. So do it all in the catalog. It's good. It's a good thing. To me anyway. So I can never remember. Okay. And see up here where, I mean, we can go in and we can rechange this radius and stuff if we want. All the things we do in Lightroom, you can go back and you can look and see it again. There's a H key. See, that changes that. So I can take this and I can decide that I want it brighter around her or very narrow, or it's just her. So even after the fact. So it's great. Any questions or anything? You guys are awful quiet. Oh, you're all on mute. There you go. You might have muted me too. Who knows? Okay. How we doing on time here? Okay, we still have some time. Oh, well, we got plenty of time. So there's the difference between those two.
Dave, this is Rod. I've got to leave you.
I'm sorry, what?
This is Rod. I have to leave.
Oh, okay. Well,
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. Did you learn anything?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I always learn something.
Awesome. All right. Well,
Yep.
thank you. Sorry you missed the actual shoot.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was exhausting. It was fun. We'll talk to you later.
Okay.
So, Chris, is there one in particular you'd like to see me tackle? Last one?
So I know when I was shooting, like I said, originally I was just shooting auto, and then I was starting to learn the ISO on my own. And the Josh guy, he said, you know, you'd rather the subject was a little darker than lighter, because you could just adjust it in here. Whereas if it's too bright, there's nothing you can do about it.
Absolutely. This one right here.
So yeah, I saw you did that, and I've been taking notes also along the way. So I think that'll help a lot. I'm just fighting with, apparently the new Windows automatically saves everything to the cloud, which I hate. So I just went in and forced my camera to load everything directly onto my drive.
That's good.
So
I know they like the cloud because it's like, oh, well, we get to charge them for that, you know, because they'll get hooked on it, and now they're there forever. So yeah, it's true. If you get it a little darker, and that helps with skies and things too. If you're shooting outside and the sky isn't quite there, if you do it darker, the sky's there because you're darker. And the subject is there, probably even darker, but you can bring the subject back up. If the sky is shot and it's white, it's going to be white, unless you want to add a sky, because you can do that pretty easy. Let's see if this one, oh, that wouldn't be a good one. This one's going to be weird, but let me take this one and use the sky feature. I'm going to edit in Photoshop. And it's going to think there's supposed to be sky all over behind her. So it's not going to do it right. But this is how easy it is. All I have to do is remember where it's at. It's not in a strange, it's in a strange place. Like under edit, there's sky replacement. Okay, cool. And I've used it a few times in the right place. When there's actually a place for a sky, it does a good job. This is going to look really weird. So it's even having trouble figuring out where the sky should go. There you go. See, now you can imagine that we could actually, in the proper picture, it will do the sky properly. And it's having trouble with obviously there's a reflection of her in there or something. So there is a way of actually adding sky in. There's so, oh no, there was some green stuff here and I didn't know if that was supposed to be there or not. But yeah, you can add sky. There's new AI stuff that you say, I want to put her with the Roman Colosseum behind her and blah, 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 and it'll actually put it in. It's like, I will go to AI and say, give me a background that includes the following things. And then I edit the background in because it's like, no, I don't want it to do all that for me. It doesn't do a very good job yet. Give it a week and it probably will. But it's like, no, that's like, I have the fun of doing the art. And that takes a lot of the fun out of it when it's like, oh yeah, just type a few words and it creates it and you're done. I know one photographer, he was a really good photographer, but he's getting up there in years and I don't think he's got the network of models he had before. So he's doing everything on AI. The pictures are unbelievably awesome, but they're not real. He just got really good at telling it what he wanted and refining that, and boom, doing his thing.
Yeah, AI is going to really affect artists.
In general, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's affecting people who, if they do writing for a living, the writers are saying, no AI. We don't want AI writing the next Star Trek season. And I'm
Yeah.
all for that.
Well, we'll see. There's only been how many movies telling us this is a bad idea. So
Yeah. As soon as a company comes up called Skynet, we know we're in big trouble.
So no, yesterday or last night, I was already looking to see if you had anything else posted for classes or whatnot. And I see you do the one-on-ones.
Mhm.
So I would imagine at some time in the future, I'll probably want to do one of those. And then I saw you had to pay for the model fee as well in that.
Well, if you want to have a model, if you're that new, you might want to have a class, maybe not even 5 hours, maybe something shorter. And we'll just use a basketball or something, because we can go over all the settings in the camera and we can play around and you can see how the different things work and maybe get you know what it is you need to know. That's the problem. Sometimes you don't know what you need to know, so we could get you we could get you up from get you to the point where, okay, in this environment, what would the settings on my camera be? And if I add a light over here, what's that going to do? We can do all of that stuff in advance, and then we could bring a model in and try those things out, or let you go out and do some shooting in the wild and get some feel for it. Sometimes just walking downtown and taking pictures of trees and birds and people on sidewalks and stuff, that gives you a good feel. When I first got my gear, and I got like 3 or 4 lenses and a 5D Mark II and the whole works, and I had no idea how any of it worked. So I took it to a park close by, and I sat on the picnic table and I started shooting cars going by and birds and the trees off in the distance and the trees close up, and I changed lenses for different things. I put on automatic. I'd look and see what the settings were. Then I'd switch to manual and I'd make those settings so I could then adjust from there and see what the differences are. Thinking back, I looked at those settings going, my God, what was the camera thinking? Because it basically, your exposure and your speed, they counteract each other. You open the exposure and you have to cut the speed down because, well, now you're wide open and you're getting all that light in, so you need to be quicker. And then if you make it so you're not, your aperture is tight and small, you need to extend how long it's open so you can get the same picture. Well, the camera is like, blink. I'm going, no, that's wrong. It works, but it's wrong. So it took me a couple hours to get a good feel for those 3 settings. Fortunately, there might be 400 buttons on your camera or features, but you only need to know those 3 things. If it only did those 3 things, we could all still do what we do. It's a little bit like Adobe. Oh, we got all this capability, but there's like these 4 things we use all the time as photographers. Now, if we were architects, we'd be using completely different things. So, yeah, but yeah, it's completely up to you. I'm super flexible. I put a half-hour thing out on YouTube, and it's used a lot around Christmas time when people get cameras and don't know what to do with them, because it's a half hour of me talking really fast about this is what this is, and this is what this is, and do this and do this. And, this is what this kind of lens is, and this is what this kind of lens is, and here's the differences and why. So things like that are kind of cool.
Well, I'll have to go watch that. So.
Yeah, it's out there. So anyway,
Yeah.
so anybody, is it just me and you, or
Just me and you?
Oh, okay.
Just me and you. So
All right.
I think I'm good. I'm gonna go through and pick out the ones I want to edit and
Go for
have a
it.
go at it. All right. Thank
Looking
you.
forward to seeing them.
Thanks.
All right. Talk to you later.